Let's bring in ESPN's national NFL reporter, host of the Matchup Show, Instagram, Sal Pal ESPN. He had a reaction last night. If you were following him on Instagram, you already know a little bit about how he feels about this pick. Let's bring him in now on a Sal Pal Friday and get his take. In 21, they had options, Sal. Jefferson, they could have gone linebacker, but they kind of came out of right field with Jalen Reagor, and now it looks like you're going to have two guys, the pick after, Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor, who will constantly be compared in their careers.
Yeah, and Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen, the two inside linebackers that the Eagles passed on too. And that's unfortunate for Jalen Reagor because he looks like a really hardworking, dedicated football player. There's no question that he is going to be an NFL talent. But the problem is when you put a player like that in the position like that where you reach, they reached for Reagor. They definitely did. I have gone through every possible draft scouting report, and I don't see anybody who has a first-round grade on him. They're all second- and third-round grades. And so it's really unfortunate. I do not want to bash the young man. I just don't. Now he's a Philadelphia Eagle. You got to support him and get behind him. I just put a video on my Sal Pal ESPN Instagram, a film breakdown done by Matt Bowen of the Matchup Show, in which we show how he can be used in Doug Peterson's offense as a gadget wide receiver. You know, jet sweeps, wide receiver screens, reverses, those kinds of things initially, so that he can get himself 6 to 8 touches per game early on and have an impact. And maybe if he hits a home run every other game or every third game and scores maybe 6 or 8 touchdowns as a rookie, that he can have an impact. He'll also be a good punt returner. But, you know, the bottom line is, unfortunately, where they picked him and who they left on the board, he'll always have to measure up. And that's unfortunate for him. I'll tell you, right, Michael, if it's a good thing they weren't at the Strip in Las Vegas.
Oh,
he would have been booed like Donovan McNabb.
He might not have been there.
And just as unfairly, he might. Yes, very true. That is correct. He might not have been there. And then, boy, oh boy, the reaction would have been really, really negative because worldwide people would have seen that the Eagles had made a mistake picking him where he was picked. Does he belong to be on the football team? Yes, of course. He belongs on the football team. He can make a contribution. What I love about him is he's got really great upper body strength. He's not going to get pushed around like some of the slight wide receivers that the Eagles have picked or other teams have picked. He's not Brandon Cooks. He's not Deshaun Jackson. But he doesn't have A-plus blazing speed either, Mike. His last 40 time was 4.47, and that's not A-plus speed. It's A-minus speed.
Yeah, and I guess I want to ask you about, you know, when CeeDee Lamb starts to fall and that whole scenario there. And, of course, he lands at Dallas, which I think is a double whammy for you, that Dallas goes and gets the guy that many people thought if you were going to trade up for one. Now, you and I have had conversations that we didn't condone the trade up because we just didn't see that Calvin Johnson or that Julio Jones level player. But once he got to 16 with the Falcons, were you thinking, maybe he pulls the trigger here?
No, I really don't, because I think people were holding the Eagles hostage, knowing the Eagles really needed a wide receiver. They made it plain. It was pretty easy to see. And the asking price was way too high. And by the way, you and I were the only real sane voices out there. Everybody was like, go, 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 go. No. Especially this year with the COVID-19 pandemic, and this is something I reported earlier, a couple of days ago, right before the draft on Scott Van Pelt's show. Teams were telling me it's about roster construction. You have an abbreviated offseason. You don't know when Roger Goodell's going to flip the switch. You better have players. And that may have been the reason why teams did not trade yesterday. You had a hole. You had to fill it. If you were the Giants, you have a hole at right tackle. Now you don't. If you're the Jets, you have a hole on the offensive line. Now you don't. And teams like the Eagles needed a punt returner. And so for that reason, you might take Reagor, but Brian, Michael, you just don't take him in that spot. You just don't.
Yeah, and then Jefferson's the next pick behind him. I mean, I want to get your take because a lot of people felt there was 4 guys. Jefferson, some thought he was the second, the third. I mean, you could ask 32 different teams. They had those 4 guys ranked in some order. The Eagles obviously did not have those 4 guys ranked in the same order because Jefferson went after them. But what's the fit for Jefferson better than the fit for Reagor? I mean, do you agree with the Eagles in that they basically said last night it was about fit?
I don't. And here's the biggest problem I have with Reagor. His hands. Every single scouting report says that he has suspect hands. He had drops in concentration. He put the ball on the floor, on the ground, 7 times in the last 2 seasons with fumbles. Here's a scouting report from Pro Football Network. His hands can fail him at times. Here's another one. He possesses strong hands, but he drops catchable throws routinely, struggles in battles routinely. It's over. His drops. Here's another one. I'm reading from him. The Ringer magazine. His drops could be a major concern. Well, I mean, why are you taking a guy at wide receiver with drops when drops were your major concern for the last 2 years?
Right. Yeah, that would be a big issue.
Major concern.
You bring in a guy who's inconsistent with the drops again, that's a big problem. And here's the thing too, Sal. There's so much talk about wide receiver with this class, and there's so many wideouts. Somebody's going to have to be the guy that's not the good one. You take 10, 8 might be good. 2 of them aren't going to be very good. And it would be a very unfortunate thing if you reach for the one guy, one of the 2 guys that aren't very good.
Look at his performance against Matty Rule's Baylor team. 1 catch for 8 yards on 8 targets with 4 drops.
Yeah, the 4 drops is a big concern. Now, his quarterback play was horrendous out there this year.
Yep, and I get it. Yeah. I understand that. But when the ball's hitting him in the hand.
True. Oh, absolutely.
And he's not catching it, that's an issue. That is an issue. But, again, I mean, is he an NFL player? Yes.
Sure.
Number 21 in the first round when you have Jefferson there? No. Jefferson did great in the critical moments against SEC defenses and won a national title with the guy who won the Heisman Trophy. Joe Burrow didn't win the Heisman Trophy by himself, Mike. Joe Burrow won the Heisman Trophy because he had a great supporting cast.
Sure, yeah. Now, somebody texted in earlier.
Really well, but football's a team sport. The Chiefs picked his running back. The Vikings picked his wide receiver. Mm-hmm. So please.
Yeah. What if they would have passed on Jefferson but took the linebacker Murray? Would we have?
I would have been happy.
You had no problem with that?
No, I would have been fine with that.
Yeah, okay, because Jefferson's next, and then Murray goes pick 23.
Right after that.
Yeah, to the Chargers at 23, and then Ayuk.
Chargers had a great draft. I think the Chargers had the best draft. I think the Chargers had the best draft.
Yeah, I mean, they get the quarterback, at 6? They don't have to move, and then they get a great spot at the linebacker in a division where you need that guy. What about if they would have taken Ayuk? Would you have been scratching your head?
Oh, my gosh, no. Another guy.
Oh, Pac-10, I forget, right.
Pac-10 with drops. Slight receiver, no.
Pac-12, sorry.
But I heard he was in the mix. There were a lot of people in the building who liked him. It was either Reagor or Ayuk.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing him up, because I had heard his name, kind of both those guys. Reagor coming on kind of late, and then we heard Mims' name too. Now, he did not get picked last night. He would still be on the board, which I guess, would you anticipate another wide receiver going tonight in round 2 or 3?
For the Eagles?
Yeah.
I don't know. That would send a very bad signal about the Reagor pick. I think now they understand that social media and sports talk radio are absolutely eviscerating them over this. People are outraged. And I hate to see it, because you don't want to kill the player. He's now in an Eagles uniform. He's now part of the team. and you've got to rally around him, but it's unfortunate that he's been put in this position. Here's Lance Zierlein on NFL.com, and if you remember, Lance Zierlein was the guy who said the Eagles were going to pick Reagor, and he also said the Eagles were interested in Carson Wentz. He was the first one to say it. He does a great job. Here is his major weakness on Reagor. Ball skills fail to match athletic ability.
The drops coming into play. That's the drop problem, because there's a lot of people who like Hamler too, but his problem's drops as well. By the way, he's even smaller.
So I think they got themselves a punt returner, they got themselves a gadget wide receiver, and you put him on the outside and let him run some 9 routes, and dedicate a double team to Reagor, and maybe that opens things up for Zach Ertz and for Dallas Goedert, and maybe even Alshon Jeffrey if he's healthy. But right now they got themselves a punt returner and gadget receiver at 21, which they could have gotten somewhere in the 50s.
Yeah, that's where the thing is does this player, is he a bad player? No. Can he help you out? Absolutely. But could you get a similar player? Now, I was a little biased because I'm a West Virginia guy, and he torched us. I mean, he had 10 catches for 150 yards in a game, a 45-yard touchdown. The guy torched us 2 years in a row, and I had dreams last night of this guy, Reagor, killing my Mountaineers, and I said, well, maybe if he did what he did in those games. But you wonder how much of these teams looking at what the Chiefs have with Hill and a lot of undersized guys, and as you mentioned, gadget players, jet sweeps, smaller guys in space. Are you trying to kind of emulate that?
Oh, of course you are, and everybody is, for sure. That's why John Gruden did the Henry Ruggs III pick. He's in a division where he's got to keep up with the Joneses, his old mentor. No question. Peterson, same thing. Everybody looks at what worked. What worked is option quarterbacks, speed at the receiver position, so you can beat one-on-one coverage on the outside. And we will see if he can do that. His upper body strength is off the charts for a guy his size. I'm talking about Reagor. Mm-hmm. But he is not tall. And so he compensates for vertical leap. And his vertical leap is good. But when you do that, it's tough to come down with the ball routinely if you don't have really long arms and big hands and you're 6'2", 6'3". It's hard to win those one-on-one battles all the time when you're playing jump ball. It just is. So, again, I do not want to kill the pick of the player, but I want to kill the pick. I think it's a bad pick where it was. But I think he's going to be a contributor on this football team right away as a punt returner and as a gadget receiver in Doug Peterson's offense. He'll be utilized right away, and he is strong enough to withstand the punishment in the NFL.
I just want to get your Sal Pal Friday here, Sal Paolantonio, ESPN. Sal Pal, ESPN on Instagram for his Insta reactions at the draft. And I want to get your take on what were some of the moments. By the way, I thought that the broadcast itself, that there wasn't very many glitches. I got to give a hand to the production crew at ESPN last night. There wasn't a heck of a lot of crazy production, but you had emailed me at some point talking about how it just didn't feel the same without the boos and the crowd and the ahs and the this and the that's. I mean, that was definitely felt last night. It was a yawner at points.
Oh, my gosh. The broadcast itself was flawless. 180 camera feeds coming into Bristol, Connecticut.
Crazy.
And they did an absolutely flawless job. And you saw the ratings. 15 million people watched last night. It's the most watched television program on cable or over the airwaves since March the 3rd.
Wow. Did you say 15 million? I didn't see the number yet. 15
million average.
Holy mackerel. That's bigger than I had said yesterday. I thought about 9 to 10.
15 million average. So it was the most watched program on cable or over the airwaves since the beginning of March, over a month.
Jeez.
And why wouldn't it be? It was new programming. It was unique. It was the most watched sport in the country. But if anything was proven last night besides all that, besides the fact that we all know that the worldwide leader is the worldwide leader for a reason, and thank God I work there, it is that the fans matter. In sports, The fans matter. The passion, the energy, the commitment of the fans is so important. And I hope at MLB and NHL and NBA, they were all watching and saying to themselves, yeah, it was technically proficient, but yet without the fans component, it's not going to be the same, and it's going to be hard for us to sell that over the long term. And we need a plan that includes the fans returning to the games at some point in a safe manner.
Round 2 tonight, round 3. You can hear it all right here on 97.3 ESPN. The coverage begins at 6 o'clock. And, of course, the Eagles have a pick in the second and a comp pick in round number 3. Saturday's coverage begins at 2 o'clock here on 97.3. The Eagles 4-5, a couple picks in the 6. And, of course, we'll be breaking them all down. Anything else, an overview of last night that kind of stands out to you before we hide for the weekend here?
The SEC rules, as we talked about, Mike.
14 picks in round 1.
A record 15 picks in round 1, you have to take the players who face the toughest competition and win in the critical situations. You absolutely have to. And I'm glad they didn't pick a Pac-12 guy. I really am. I really am. I want to see where some of these SEC guys go. Xavier McKinney, DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins of Ohio State. I want to see where he goes. T. Higgins of Clemson. He's going to be a tremendous NFL player. So I want to see where some of these guys wind up, because all of these got Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs is somebody the Eagles should seriously consider if they could get their hands on him. The one Pac-12 guy that I think, and I'm going outside of what I've said, is Michael Pittman Jr., the USC wide receiver. To me, that guy looks like the second coming of a Danny Amendola or a Wayne Corbett.
Yep, he's an interesting guy, USC, and he's got the bloodlines as well. By the way, Reagor has the bloodlines as well. If they've got that going for him. His father played here for, a cup of coffee?
Oh, listen, Eric, Reagor's going to be a good pro, and he's going to be a contributor to the Eagles. There's no question. If we're looking at 6 to 9 touches per game, Mike, some gadget plays, get the ball in his hands, let him hit a home run every 2 or 3 games, then we'll all stop talking about Justin Jefferson.
All right,
absolutely.
I have the odds on Reagor. The over/under from DraftKings is 800 yards. What do you think?
Wow, that's pretty high.
Says that is 800 yards if he's in that range. It's better than anybody they had last year, by the way. Is that a good season if he is in the 800 range?
It's only 200 yards away from a 1,000-yard receiver.
Right.
That would be phenomenal.
There we go. All right.
That would be phenomenal.
Let's all bet the over and hope it goes well.
Let's all bet the over and hope it goes well. I'm not one of the, I don't like to bet against people. I never do. I just don't do that. I mean, I'm not much of a gambler anyway, but I don't like to bet against people, and I certainly wouldn't bet against anybody in an Eagles uniform. And that's what I want to start out by saying. Okay, it's done now, people. Move on. The player is going to be wearing an Eagles uniform. The pick, we understand it was the wrong spot, but now you got to root for him to succeed. You want all these guys to succeed. Anybody. Especially in this environment, in this world, you want everybody to succeed. Give them an opportunity to make a name for themselves, make some money, make people cheer, and get the Eagles get some victories. Get me back on the sideline. Virtual draft from my house, Michael. Hey, I wanted that to be one and done, Michael. One and done.
Yeah, it was. I said the only good part about it, Sal, and I'll let you get out on this, Sal Paolantonio, is I had the draft on. My girlfriend was with me, and, it was boring for her. But she said, I really like looking at these people's houses. This is kind of interesting. So that was a good part of it.
Yeah.
It kept her engaged, right? I didn't have to sit there and watch it by myself. So,
It was pretty good. I got my wife off say yes to the dress. to watch the draft for a few minutes.
Good stuff. Sal Pal, ESPN.
Hey, Michael, I'm one and done with virtual drafts. Get me out on the road, baby. Come on.
Yeah, that's getting. Well, last night the commissioner said the draft in 2020 was going to be in Vegas. He slipped up. Obviously, he meant 2022. Yeah.
Tell me how we're doing on our Jersey Shore opening commission. Did you get that committee together yet?
I actually talked to our talk station host. He had the governor on his show last week, and I told him, "Hey, slip this idea by him. I haven't got the feedback yet. We need a beach czar."
Jersey Shore czar. There's no question. I mean, Phil Murphy has not even opened the parks yet in New Jersey.
No.
What is he waiting for? I mean, people need fresh air to combat this thing. The way that you catch it is indoors, not outside. It's crazy. If he's not opened up the parks yet in the state of New Jersey, then there's no chance he's going to open up the Jersey Shore, and that would be a disaster.
Well, it's April 24th. Let's hope we got at least another month of like the this springy season here. Even June now. The people from Philly don't start coming down here like 4th of July weekend anymore.
Okay, brother. Keep me posted on that. I want to be on the commission.
Will do. Take care, pal.
I want to see you.
Sal Pal ESPN on Instagram.